As noted before, we have our friend President Oakley here with us today. Vice Chancellor Michalowski, would you like to introduce this particular item? And welcome to all of you from Long Beach. Thank you for being here.
I would. Thank you very much, President Himmelstein. We have the unexpected pleasure of having Long Beach Community College District Superintendent President Eli Oakley here, so I'm only going to take a very brief minute to tell you why we've put this presentation on the agenda, and then I'm going to let him introduce his team and take it from there. As you have worked very hard, and we have worked hard on putting in place ways to better promote student success throughout our system, it's important to look to some of the colleges that have gone out on the cutting edge to find ways to bring students in better prepared to succeed in college and provide the support that enables them to be successful. The Promise Pathways program at Long Beach City College is one such program, and so we wanted to let you hear about how colleges on the ground are trying to do things differently and implement some reforms that can improve student success. So with that, I will let Superintendent President Oakley take over.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Michalowski, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for having Long Beach in the house. Appreciate it. I know it's not always welcome, but we try to bring... That's not true.
Well, your staff is always welcome. President Oakley.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's always, and I particularly wanted to be here to welcome Chancellor Harris to his new role, and look forward to working with him and commit to you, all of us at Long Beach City College, to help you move the student success agenda forward. The Student Success Act was something that we very much fought hard for and supported the Chancellor in his efforts to get this done. And of course, we thank now Congressman Lowenthal, who was a big supporter of this as well. So the presentation today, we're, as Vice Chancellor Michalowski talked about, the Promise Pathways includes various elements that are we think central to the Student Success Act and what we're trying to accomplish. By no means have we solved every issue at Long Beach. We're just trying to get out in front and try some new things. And fortunately, our faculty and staff at Long Beach City College are very much interested in trying to improve the preparedness of our students, improve the quality of our education, and try to get more students through our system. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my staff here, who actually knows what they're talking about. I've got Dr. Janie Mackay, Mr. Mark Taylor, and Ms. Alicia Kreisinga, who will introduce themselves, what they do, and talk a little bit about the Promise Pathways. And for that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Mark Taylor.
Thank you, President Oakley, President Himmelstein, Chancellor Harris, all the other board members and guests. Pleasure to be with you today and to share give you a brief overview of the Long Beach College Promise Pathways program. First, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the background, what sort of gave rise to the Promise Pathways program. For nearly 18 years, Long Beach City College has been involved in what is called the Seamless Education Partnership, which is a cooperative effort between Long Beach Unified School District, Long Beach City College, and Cal State Long Beach to really try and create a seamless educational experience for the students in the Long Beach area to prepare for, progress into, and complete college. In 2008, that partnership was reinvigorated with the signing of the Long Beach College Promise Agreement, which committed all three institutions to making college success and completion the highest priority, really focusing on preparing students for college, getting them to begin college immediately after graduation, and then sticking with it through. Part of that program includes a Promise Scholarship from Long Beach City College, so all local students who matriculate immediately to Long Beach City College have their first semester of enrollment fees waived or covered by a scholarship. And Cal State Long Beach continues to offer preferential admission to local graduates, even in the midst of being one of the most sought after campuses in the country. So that's sort of the foundation and bedrock of our work. I want to talk a little bit about the students that we serve. This is our cohort are the demographics of the 2012 cohort from Long Beach Unified who matriculated at Long Beach City College. It's 53% Latino, 15.7% Asian, that's primarily Southeast Asian, large Cambodian and Vietnamese population, significant African American population as well, and about 70% of Long Beach Unified students qualify for free or reduced federal lunch support. So it's a large, diverse, urban, high-need population that we're serving through this partnership. With that, we'll transition to our presentation. Dr. Janie McKay will begin by talking about overall matriculation efforts at Long Beach Unified, how we seek to do that for all students. She will then hand it off to Alicia Krasinga, who will talk about matriculation and outreach for Promise Pathway students. And then I'll close with a little bit of information about the impact that this program has had already. So with that, we'll proceed.
Good morning. Thank you again for having all of us. I'm Janie McKay, and I also want to say that I'm fortunate to be one of the statewide academic senate reps on the Matriculation Advisory Committee, so I get to live and breathe the Student Success Act quite frequently. What we did really to implement key areas of assessment and orientation at Long Beach City College is matriculation is part of our overall student success plan and has been for the last 5 years. So when we're looking at how we help students be successful, it's part of our overall plan. We have a board policy in which students must assess and orient before they can enroll. And that has affected how many students that we're serving through that process, but we've implemented that in October 2011. And we transitioned, at one point we were doing paper pencil testing, but now we're computerized. A significant amount of our testing is via the AccuPlacer, which a lot of schools use. Through the students assess, and then we have a open testing, which means that they can come in and test at any time, and that allowed us to implement this enforcement of assessment and orientation. If you can move on. And in orientation, we have a variety of ways that it's delivered. We have an online orientation program. We also have in-person, and then we do have an ESL orientation that's in a variety of languages. But one of the areas that we do is the Promise Pathways orientation, where we have a large amount of our students come on Saturdays from the Long Beach Unified Schools in their senior year. And they will go through that process. They had to do it this last year before May 5th. That was the deadline in order for them to be part of Promise Pathways. We think it's good for them to get on campus. So we even had our Catalina students, because Catalina Island is part of Long Beach City College, come over and be a part of that process. Just to show you the effect of implementing this at Long Beach City College, in 2010, 2011, 10,194 students were assessed and oriented, but you can see there was a 29% increase in the number of students that assessed and oriented in 2011-12. And I think all of the colleges in the state are having this kind of impact on the number of students that are trying to come to campus. This next one just shows you the increase. July and August are our biggest efforts. We actually tested and oriented 413 students in one day this July because we're enforcing it. But the significance here, I think, for all community colleges is we looked at the August students who assessed and oriented, and this is the general population I'm talking about. And 50% of those students did not enroll in classes. And part of it may be they couldn't have gotten the classes, and a lot of it was they probably couldn't have gotten the classes. But I think it's an issue statewide because we are providing the service. But then how, what expectation do we have for those students and their success? And one more slide, just overall, the increase in the number of tests that we've administered at Long Beach City College. From 08-09, it was approximately 23,000 tests, and in 2011-12, it was 43,000 tests. So it gives you an idea of the impact of enforcing assessment and orientation. And what I want to do now is turn it over to what we're doing specifically for recent high school graduates from Long Beach Unified Promise Pathways.
Thank you. Promise Pathways is a program that Long Beach City College implemented in fall 2012 to increase the number and pace of our local students' college completions. The area of focus are preparing students for college level coursework, assisting the students in progressing towards their academic goals, and completions of certificates, degrees, and/or transfer. Student requirements for Promise Pathways are a signed mutual agreement and attend an orientation. Students must be placed in courses using the placement pilots. They must take and complete math, English, or reading in their first semester. They must take a student success course each semester, receive an ed plan, and take the courses which lead to their academic goal, and continue on path towards goal in successive semesters. The benefits of the Promise Pathways is their first semester enrollment fees are waived. They are guaranteed enrollment in their required courses. They are preparing to transfer sooner, completing certificate or degrees faster, and specialized academic advising. To ensure that all of our Promise Pathway students receive the specialized academic advising, we developed the counseling workshops with our partners at Long Beach Unified School District. We worked very closely with the career counselors at each high school, as well as utilized our outreach ambassadors. Our ambassadors are Long Beach City College students that go and attend all of the unified high schools 2 days a week, and they help the students with whatever help that they need, applications, FAFSAs. We held these workshops for 2 months at Long Beach City College. It was proven to be very difficult to get the students onto our campus, so the last month of school, we actually started to hold the workshops on the high school counselors. Again, we worked closely with the career counselors to ensure that the students that we needed were there, and they were all called out of class to attend these mandatory workshops. We had 2 to 3 counselors at each high school, depending on the size of the high school, and we also had 2 to 3 staff members attend these workshops at the high schools as well. The staff members provided an overview on Promise Pathways, the ABC guides, and tips for college success, while the counselors discussed the students' educational goals and reviewed the pre-populated semester education plans with the students. Now Mark will go into the impact of the Promise Pathways program.
Thank you, Alicia. So remember, we're talking real time. The first cohort enrolled in our institution in August 27th, the first day of classes. So we're about 2/3 of the way through the semester right now. So we'll know more in January, but here's what we know already. And there are really some key pilots that we're working. The first is prescriptive scheduling. We're telling students which courses we think are most appropriate for them, and then we're guaranteeing them access to those courses. We're using an alternate method of placement. We're providing readings support in a linked course model. And then finally, we're guaranteeing success courses and providing achievement coaches for many students. So the first place you see the effect is this is a 4-year average of our Long Beach Unified Cohort. So we receive about 1,600 students on average over the last 4 years. This year, and out of that cohort, about 400, so less than 1 in 4 enrolls full-time. This year, our overall cohort is down, which isn't surprising given that our workload reductions have decreased by over 2,000 students. But the full-time students are up, more than doubled. So by changing priority to give priority to first-time enrolled students, we more than doubled the number of first-time, full-time enrolled students from Long Beach Unified, even with a slightly smaller cohort. One of the other key changes we've made is an alternative placement pilot. We've done an extensive research project based on 5 years of data of students who graduated from Long Beach Unified, matriculated to Long Beach City College, and identified what the best predictors of success are. And to sum it up, grades are a better predictor of success in college level coursework than our assessment tests alone. This study has been shared widely at conferences, and the RP group is actually testing the method at up to a couple dozen community colleges around the state. But basically we changed how we assess students and did assessment in English and math based on grades rather than just assessment test scores. And so but because this is still a pilot, all of these students also took the AccuPlacer test. So for the 966 students who enrolled in the Promise Pathways, this is what their assessment test or their placements would have looked like if we'd used the AccuPlacer test as typically we've done. So about 14% in college level English, the remainder 1 or 3 levels below college ready. Using the assessment pilot, we've placed nearly 56% of students in college-level English in their first semester. And 100% of these students were enrolled in their appropriate English class in their first semester. So all of these students began their first semester of college in English, and more than half of them began in college-level English. So a big change in 1 year. If we broke this down by race and ethnicity, you'll see that it's significant improvements across the cohort. It's about a 400% average achievement. Latino students improved by more than 500%, from less than 10% to over 50% in English. Math placement, it's a similar story. 9% would have begun in transfer level class. That changed to 31%. Now, the key distinction to understand here is that I'm trying to build full-time course schedules that included English, in some cases a remedial reading course if needed, and math, and a success course. We couldn't cram all of that into a single semester. So not 100% of the students, less than 100% of the students were enrolled in math, but we're expecting the students who weren't enrolled in math in their first semester to be enrolled in math in their second semester. And again, these gains hold for all groups. You'll see that there's a achievement gap persists throughout, but that it's at a completely different order of magnitude. A brief word about linked reading. A significant number of students tested into a remedial reading placement, and we're experimenting with doing that reading instruction in a paired instruction with a transfer level course, thinking that reading instruction will mean more when it's attached to a course than it will in isolation. The other big pilot that we're working on is all of these students are involved in success courses in their first semester, and half of the students were also were assigned an achievement coach to provide an additional level of support. All of these interventions are being evaluated, and those that prove successful will be continued in future years of the cohort, because we're already planning for fall of 2013 and the next round of students. So with that, that will conclude our formal presentation. We'll be happy to respond to any questions or comments.
If I can make one closing remark, a couple things regarding this presentation. One is this could not have been done without a tremendous K-12 partner in Long Beach Unified. And I think there are many K-12s in this state who are trying to achieve the same thing. Here in Sacramento alone, I know Chancellor Harris knows the work of Jonathan Raymond, superintendent of Sacramento City Schools. We need to continue to find and encourage partnerships with our K-12s. Second, in order to achieve what this board and what we all want to achieve with student success and the Student Success Act, we've got to begin to look at the models, particularly in advising and counseling, different. We've got to look at placement different. And I think we need to encourage pilots and experimentation to be able to find new ways of achieving what we want to, because there is not enough money to achieve it in the current model, and there won't be anytime soon. So if we want to achieve success, we've got to look at things differently. And then finally, we have not solved all the issues here. We're taking discrete pieces of the overall problem, but ultimately this work must be scaled. Otherwise, we will not continue these pilots if they cannot be scaled. We want to scale them to all of our incoming students, whether they be first-time freshmen or re-entry students. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Member Reed.
This is a great program presentation. The question I have is, what is the supplemental funding? Do you get money from Hewlett-Packard or someone, or how are you
We receive no additional money to allow us. We are building this with existing resources, with general fund resources, because the only way to scale something like this is to do it within existing resources. Far too often, I mean, we look for money, categorical or grant money, and the program goes away. Now, certainly we are looking for money in all the wrong places right now to try and help us continue to seed this. But we've made a commitment within the college that we're going to do this within existing resources. So we are shifting resources from other areas to put into this area of focus.
Is that true of the K-12 in Long Beach as well?
That's correct.
Wow.
So just as a follow up to that, the incoming freshmen who receive a semester tuition free, those dollars come from where?
Those dollars come from the Long Beach City College Foundation, which has raised the money to provide a first semester tuition free
Okay.
for every incoming freshman from local area high schools, as long as they come to us directly out of high school, directly after graduation.
Very good. Member McDougal.
Yeah, I think the presentation was exceptional, and I really commend the institution for the commitment that you have to student success and your willingness to be creative in finding ways to increase the numbers of students who succeed. Now, I recognize in stating that this is the first semester and the data aren't in, but just the fact that you're willing to make the effort and to look at it is exceptional in and of itself, and making it work in that way. To me, the most substantial and potentially impactful part of the presentation was using the high school grades as contrasted with the placement tests for placement. If your data verify the ability to use that and have it succeed, that will have a tremendous effect statewide in how we approach the whole issue of student success. So there'll be a lot of people interested in what happens after you complete the first semester. At a minimum, the positive outcome will be that if the students don't perform, you can then link with the K-12 system and say something's wrong here. You know, we're expecting that when a student gets a C or a B in algebra, trigonometry, et cetera, that's a valid grade, and that's going to be prepared for college level work. So let's work together and find out why that's not happening. So at a minimum, you're going to have some very good data that you can work with the K-12 system in doing. So I think I'm very, very impressed with your work, and commend all of you for what you're doing. And I think all of us would be very anxious to see the results when they come out. Personally, I would find it very valuable to get a hard copy of the overlays that you had today. I don't know if you have that available.
I'd be happy to share them with Vice Chancellor Michalowski. We can get them out.
But if we can get those, that would be greatly appreciated. But really excellent work.
We will
Thank you.
provide that to the board.
If
Member
I
Bo-
can make one follow-up
Sure.
point to Member McDougal. There's a couple of issues regarding the placement. First of all, with the Common Core coming into the K-12 system, this will make it easier because there'll be consistency, at least theoretical consistency, across all high school curriculum. So that will help. Second, we don't, what we expect to learn from this pilot is how to better place students. Will all the students who were placed succeed in English 1 or college level math? Probably not, but certainly many more students who would have otherwise been placed in a remedial course will succeed. So we expect to continue to learn. We won't solve every problem from this first pilot, but the key is to continue to learn from the data we have. And I know that many of our colleagues across the country see this as a great benefit. Now that we have better data available, we can begin to use that and avoid using the hammer with placement, instead use a scalpel and help more students be placed in the right course.
One question, if I may, to follow up. If a student receives a high school grade that would enable them to place, let's say, in a college level math class, but then they take the test and the test shows a lack of readiness for that class, does the student have the choice as to which selection is made, or does the institution say, based on your grade, you have to go in to the math class?
What we did the counselors working with the students, we pointed out both placements and talked it through with the student as to what they felt the most comfortable with.
That's terrific. And what about support at the services as they go through the classes? Is there anything special that is aligned with that?
Well, one of the pilots we're trying out is something new that's only being implemented with the Promise Pathway students, which are the achievement coaches, which are either master's candidates or people with master's degrees that are assigned to the success courses to which students are enrolled in to provide extra help. Of course, we have student success centers that are also aligned with math and English and reading courses, and so that there are lots of other support that's available to all students. But in particular, we're testing this model of whether having a dedicated, an additional coach in that first year is very helpful. And we'll, half of the students will receive it, half of them won't. So after the first year or semester, we'll be able to see how much of a difference is attributable to coaching. And if it really shows great promise, then that's something that we'll figure out a way to continue. And if not, then we'll focus on the things that do.
Member Baum?
First off, thank you for this. I remember when you came, President Oakley came and introduced us to this program about 4 years ago. And it was something that I felt was a model that we should try to continue to develop. And it's exactly this type of program is why the public is beginning to continue to have faith in community colleges, because this is how they think it should work, that you should be able to go to high school, get into community college, and transfer to your four-year university in a pathway, and that's why I think they're willing to support this. And so then the question for us is, how do we emulate this up and down the state? You have certain unfair advantages over other districts. You have a large K through 12 district that has that you can create a good partnership. But if I'm at Cerritos College or Golden West College or Compton College, who also wants a pathway to Long Beach State, that's a little more complicated for those districts and those colleges to have that pathway partnership set up. So that's where it's been great that we've, as a system, have advocated for SB 1440 to create those pathways for every college to the Cal States. And so one of the things I'm hoping we're working on with our new president of the Cal State system is ensuring that the Cal State continues to make itself open to our transfers in a pathway format and that they live up to the promise of SB 1440. And so I hope that we're going to have a new Cal State president and can come meet with us as well on that.
Yeah, I would just say that Chancellor White and I spoke on the phone on the day of his appointment, and as the board may know, he's a community college graduate himself. So he was, I didn't have to prompt him. He right away was interested in furthering 1440. So we're excited about the proposition.
Right. And the other thing is also through our foundation, we want to, the Long Beach City College Foundation is so effective. We want to make sure foundations up and down the state might be able to provide some of those financial incentives. Also, the other thing is that we as a board have tried to develop a closer working relationship with the State Board of Education over the K through 12 systems, and perhaps this is a area of priority that we want to, now that there's a new elected officials and maybe new members of the State Board of Education, to say, let's focus on one aspect of our relationship between our two systems, and maybe it's these pathway programs that can be adopted by the ABC Unified School District or the Huntington Beach Union High School District or others to create those pathways. So I want to take this model and then replicate it and acknowledge some of the advantages that Long Beach has over other districts, but also I expect you're sharing this with the league and all the league conferences as well.
We have shared this throughout. We're doing a presentation on the alternative placement model at the league conference. Dr. Alexander and I, Dr. Alexander, the president of Cal State Long Beach, we recently testified before Little Hoover about the partnership. The key is, and I realize that we have some advantages in Long Beach, but the advantage ultimately is the willingness to have dialogue, deliberate dialogue, and to look at data and to ask questions across the spectrum of education. What is happening along the path for our students, and what do we need to do different? I think if we just focus on that and not so much the uniqueness of Long Beach, but just focus on the deliberate dialogue, I think we can make a lot of progress
My hope is, you're exactly right. Every district up and down the state should say, how can we create a pathway, an effective pathway program with either, if a lot of them don't have a Cal State right in your neighborhood though too. So what are the other pathway models that can be developed, and to use be inspired by Long Beach's example, and then figure out how it can be replicated throughout the state.
Vice President Baca, followed by Member Belinsky.
Excellent presentation, and thank you, President Oakley, for your leadership on this. It's very exciting work that you're doing there. Now, I have a question I have is about the incentives there. First semester enrollment fee waived, and that also applies to Cal State first year or not?
No.
And
let me be clear, the incentive, the first semester incentive was created before this Promise Pathway initiative. We felt that we wanted to incentivize students to come to us directly out of high school because you know, most studies suggest that if they come to us with some of their knowledge still fresh in their head, they have a much better chance to succeed. So that part of it does not extend to Cal State University of Long Beach. Cal State University of Long Beach has a different scholarship opportunity for students, but this particular one is just through the Long Beach City College Foundation for local area students that are more than just Long Beach Unified. Any local area high school, whether they be public or private, can participate in this.
Is that a straight scholarship, or is that to cover fees, or?
Well, what it does is, the way we do it is, we ensure that the student, if there's financial aid available, goes through that process first. And then the foundation backfills the college for any fees that had to be waived, so that it's seamless, invisible to the student. They just enroll, as long as they show that they're coming to us directly out of high school, they just don't pay a fee, and we handle it on the back end through financial aid or our foundation.
And then in terms of progressing through the registration, how's that handled?
Well, through the
as far as availability or
are
positioning?
you talking
or?
about guaranteeing the courses? Well, what we do is once we get these students signed up for Promise Pathways, and I think, as was said, they signed them up in May. And by the way, let me just make a point there. Getting back to Long Beach Unified, many of these students were not 18 yet when we got the data for these students. We had to pre-populate a schedule for them. Long Beach Unified went out and got parents to sign a waiver because the FERPA regulations do not allow us to use student data until they're at least 18. So we had to go around these rules, and that's why having a willing partner makes this effective. But once they are part of Promise Pathways and they sign the commitment, we pre-populate a schedule for them. We take all the other considerations. We hold a spot for them, but of course we take all the other students who have priority, veterans, DSPS, and all the rest. But we hold a spot for the Promise Pathway students. And so once they meet with the counselor, that schedule is set in stone, and it's guaranteed for them. So we had to add.
So they fall right in right after the required priority students.
Right. The priority students were not impacted in any way.
Member Belinsky.
Well, I just wanted to add that as you adopted new Title V regulations on enrollment priorities, we look exactly to this kind of model where a college is focusing on a certain population of students, and the new enrollment priority regulations not only enables the college to do it, but it will encourage colleges to do programs like this. In addition, there are so many dimensions to Long Beach's approach to student success, but the fact that they're providing orientation and assessment to all incoming students, that's something that SB 1456 anticipates all colleges will do, and this is an example of how a college can approach that and in fact make it happen.
As others have said, thank you for the presentation. Just a few different questions, just so I understand some things in terms of local use and that kind of thing. When you use grades as a way of assigning the students their classes, who does the review of the grades to say that that's student?
So We built, our research office worked very closely to build a model that considered a host of factors. English, students are placed into English using a couple different factors, either their test scores or the grade they received their senior year in English. In math, it was a host of considerations. Mathematicians like complex formulas, so there were, GPA was the highest, it was the last grade they achieved in the math class, the level of that math class. And so in each case, as I think Jenny said before, students received multiple placements. They received an AccuPlacer-based placement in English and in math, and then they had a grade-based placement potentially, as well as they had another placement in math. Students were offered the highest of those, and then in some cases could choose to take something lower if they didn't feel strong in math, or if their career or degree goal didn't align with that placement.
But is that done in a group with the students, or is it one-on-one in counseling, or?
It's done in counseling, and what we keep talking about, the pre-populated first semester ed plans. So we get a file from Long Beach Unified. So we're not looking at transcripts individually.
Okay.
The file, and that's where we had to get parental approval to
Okay.
get the grades. And so we get the download, and then it populates these ed plans. So when a counselor meets with a student, they're going to go through these results. So they're already on that. And then, of course, we have to look at down the road, how do we do that with all, all different districts.
And how many counselors do you have involved in this process?
Let's see. I think at least probably of our academic counseling, there were about 20 academic counselors.
20 counselors, okay. Because we don't have anything close to that. And you mentioned the comment about rethinking how to do advising and counseling. Could you give some examples that have come up of that are being implemented?
Well, yes, and this is obviously a work in progress, but we, as Jenny mentioned, we pre-populate a first-year ed plan. We're going to begin to use technology more and more. We're putting in place a degree audit and other tools to allow for that initial ed plan to be developed using technology. We do a lot of group work. We are looking to create a new classified position that will work in enrollment services. We still haven't agreed on what we're going to call the position, but we're working with our counseling department to ensure that the roles of the counselor and the roles of this new classified position are in sync. And it's ultimately meant to support the work of the counselors in terms of advising, because the key issue here is the advising. Only counselors can do counseling, and that's what they're trained to do. But advising is done in various different ways throughout the country in the different college and university systems, and we can learn a lot from those models. I know schools like El Camino and Mount SAC are experimenting with educational advisors, so we're looking at these various models. We're also looking at different ways of deploying our counselors. Different colleges throughout our history have gone through either having counselors in one department, having them in schools. So we're looking at different ways of how to increase the amount of advising being done without any additional resources to counseling, because we know we cannot hire enough counselors to keep up with this demand.
So just to try and give you a straight 1, 2, 3 answer, we did a lot of the work ahead of time for students by devising pre-plan, sort of first semester plans for them ahead of time. We invited and tried to do most of the work with students in groups, and then they would meet individually with counselors afterwards. So instead of a counselor meeting one-on-one, starting from scratch and doing that, we built things ahead of time, tried to do it in groups, but still gave students time for a one-on-one interaction with counselors, which is how we did things a little bit differently.
And I think all of us face the challenge of what really is the student's major, because they tell you one thing on the app, and then they come in, and then we have a lot of undecided students. So there's such an important piece to the counseling and career development for our students that are undecided or really don't know what kind of choices they have.
One of the interesting things we're trying to do for next year to help more students have a clearer sense is we're actually planning to offer a Counseling 1, which is sort of a career exploration course in each of the high schools, the second semester of their senior year before they enroll. So that we can get more students to think about where they want and have a clear direction in mind, because that sort of drives everything else once they know.
Thank you.
Okay, Member Baum,
Just make one
final
point.
comment.
Yeah, to me, it underscores something that's all I've been passionate about, is how can we increase access to counseling and advisement, and as a system-wide priority. And there's certain regulatory measures that actually don't prevent us from investing more in counselors, and it's something that we should take a look at. How can we improve access to counseling throughout the system?
President Oakley, and let me echo my colleagues here and congratulate you on what looks to be a terrific program. Thank you for taking the time to share it with us. And as you've heard from our members here, it looks like this is something we're going to have a great interest in going forward and helping you champion this. But most of all, good for you and congratulations. Thanks.
Thanks for having us.